Greetings, everyone. My name's Christian Barker. It's Friday, 5 p.m. Happy Friday here in Singapore, sultry Singapore. I'm coming at you live in today's edition of Banter with Barker. And today I'll be joined by a sartorial mover and shaker and merchant from Melbourne, which has just unfortunately gone back into a sort of lockdown situation, which we'll have a little bit of a chat about. But yes, a gentleman by the name of Steve Calder, who has several different businesses. One, Informale, a bit of a he's joining us now. So let's give the elevator pitches on each of his businesses and how those are going during this period. Steve, great to speak with you. How you doing?
Very good, thank you. How are you? Nice to see you.
Not too bad. You know, staying alive like John Travolta in the film. Going okay. How about you? It's a tough break that Victoria in Australia, state of Victoria, where Melbourne is, for those who are unfamiliar with our national geography, has just unfortunately gone back into another sort of state of lockdown. How are you dealing with that so far?
Look, it sucks. It really sucks.
Okay.
To put it bluntly.
Yeah, sure.
Look, I think the second lockdown in some ways is a little bit tougher than the first. Okay. In the sense that we know the routine, we know what it's going to be like for the next 6 weeks or 5 weeks now.
Yeah.
Damn. And a lot of my friends in in retail, but also in hospitality and other industries, are really, really hurting the second time around. Because I think a lot of people were banking on the fact that the first lockdown was the only lockdown that we were going to have. So a lot of businesses put money into marketing for the reopen, stock. A lot of people were really surprised that the announcement was made. So like for myself, we're quite lucky because most of what we do is online. So it's a form of business as usual for us in a way, but it still sucks. It still sucks. I'm here in the shop at the moment because we're still open by appointment, but there's no real way for a retail store to stay open at the moment and expect a healthy amount of customers coming through the door.
Sure.
So,
Well, look, on a more positive, I know it's. I can only imagine, and I've got my fingers crossed after we went through a similar thing here in Singapore that I am actually able to pop out to the occasional restaurant and retail beyond the exciting, local grocery store.
Enjoy
is
it.
Nice. Though even still, we are. We're trying to, not go crazy about it. No one wants to be like Florida or whatever.
Yeah.
But look, for those who are unfamiliar with your business or your businesses, number one, I'd just love to get a little bit of background on Steve Calder and how you got to where you are today. And perhaps if you could also just explain a little bit about Informale, which is your, I don't know, how do you describe it?
Well, there's a long story and a short story, and I tend to go for the long story, so I'll try and keep it short. I've been in retail a long time, mostly in the world of tailoring, and I started my own business in 2016, which is Calder Sartoria. And that's focusing on made-to-measure handmade suits and shirts from Naples. And I did that for a number of years before I kind of started thinking about the casual arena, and you know, at the time, maybe a few years ago now, I realized that applying my you know, my what do you call it, maybe my taste and my ideals to casual wear kind of came up short. I couldn't really find many brands who had great value for money, who made really high quality clothing in the right way by the right people, which was kind of my motto when I was still kind of is when I was doing the tailoring. And so I kind of had this idea of maybe I can find someone in Melbourne locally, near you know, near my house, near my office, who might be able to make some, you know, beautiful casual wear for me.
Yep.
And that was kind of the start of the Informale journey. Funnily enough, my wife and I, who co-founded Informale, we didn't really have a dream of a big brand, or we didn't know where it was going to lead. We essentially just wanted to find someone who could make, you know, some cool casual clothing here. And it took a long time, but we finally found a small factory in Coburg, which is kind of in the middle north part of Melbourne, and about 20-minute drive from our house and from this showroom as well. And we wanted them to make a pair of trousers. That was the first product. It was a pair of linen drawstring trousers, which we now call the T005. And yeah, we got along really well with them. They're actually Italian migrants from the 50s who came here to Australia in the 50s. And my wife's half Italian. I love Italy. So we got along really well straight away, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And, you know, very quickly Informale took over what I was doing with the tailoring. So actually for the last maybe 6 months, I've been focusing almost entirely on Informale and the beautiful handmade tailoring that I've been making for my clients. Now it's more of a pleasure of mine, a hobby of mine to, you know, work with my Neapolitan tailors and make things for my clients and friends. So yeah, so hopefully that's kind of a bit of an overview without going too deep into it yet. And
if we can't, you know, look, and though, you know, obviously anyone can zip over to Google and look at your website and look at your gear, but how do you describe it in you know, 140 characters or less? What's the what's the philosophy or the vibe or the aesthetic of Informale?
Yeah, so I like to say that we are the intersection between tailoring, workwear, and military style. Because I take inspiration from those three worlds, and we kind of mash them together in ways that hopefully you haven't seen before. And that's kind of one of my, as the designer, it's one of my goals to create things that are very familiar, but at the same time are fairly unique, whether it's the fabric we're using or a kind of mashup of different styles, or, you know, an interesting detail. So yeah, so kind of doing all that, as well as making things in the right way by the right people, using the right materials. Most of what we make is done in our local factory. We have a small line of polos, which is going to be growing quite soon, which are made in Naples by my shirt makers, who I've been working with for quite a while. And I really love the tailoring side. So I don't think I'll ever stop working with my Italian friends. They make beautiful clothing, so there'll always be an element of that. And then using the right materials. So only sourcing from places that I'm confident are, you know, doing the right thing by the environment and
that's great.
yeah, that's kind of our. It's a bit more than 140 characters, but that's our ethos.
That's okay. Twitter gives you 280 now, so so you're all good, no problem. Well, that's great. And do you think? I mean, I've kind of been asking a lot of people in the menswear or sartorial tailoring world where they think you know, menswear or style in general for guys is going to end up after we emerge from this period, which will hopefully be not too far down the track. And once people, you know, who've been, I'm constantly, you know, reading stories about people who've got like the Zoom shirt, which is hanging on the back of their chair, and the rest of the time they're just there in the old, you know, AC/DC t-shirt and the tracky dacks, and then they throw on the sort of the button-down Brooks Brothers, and that's them. They're okay for the Zoom call, but the rest of the time they're in this kind of daggy gear. But I'm curious whether, you know, when we emerge from this thing, whether the, you know, the informal, the casual, the kind of slobby direction that dressing has been going in for quite some time, where people are getting, you know, emphasizing comfort over and above sharpness. Whether that's going to be cemented by this period, or whether completely the opposite will occur, where, you know, we'll come out and really want to kind of put on the Ritz because we've been dagging around the house for so long.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of angles to approach that. I think the great thing about where we've been going in terms of you know, dress codes, fashion, is that there's kind of room for everyone. You know, you got all these amazing little pockets, thanks to the internet, thanks to Instagram, etc. Pockets of let's say tribes of people who,
Yeah,
you know, they connect through the internet, and they dress a certain way, and they have a certain set of values. So there's a lot of I don't know what you might call it, maybe like a democratization of style and dress. So there's a lot of different people dressing in a lot of different ways, and that's okay, you know.
yeah.
With the, you know, the corporate uniform and Zoom calls, yeah, it's you can definitely see the trend of everything becoming more casual, more relaxed, less suits, less ties, even less like jackets and collared shirts. A good friend of mine works in marketing, and many of the Zoom calls he has are with people wearing t-shirts, you know.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and he's a sartorialist through and through, so he's very disappointed by that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think yeah, the trend is going more casual, more relaxed. So I think it's up to guys like, you know, yourself and like me and a lot of the other enthusiasts of classic menswear to uphold some values, you know, and it doesn't have to be a bespoke suit and a beautiful tie from France or from Italy and a handmade shirt. It can also be casual wear, which is made well, which is still well put together and well thought through, you know. So I think there's room for both. I really love tailoring. I respect all my friends who are, you know, hardcore kind of, you know, bespoke tailoring enthusiasts.
Yeah.
But I do think that there's definitely room for how everything's becoming more casual. There's room for guys like us to come in and say, hey, you can be comfortable and you can be relaxed, but also be sharp and well groomed, you know, and everything you buy can have some sort of value and ideals attached to it. It doesn't have to be, you know, a tracksuit from Adidas, which is made in God knows where, Vietnam or Bangladesh, you know. It can be something well made in, you know, a place where the workers are being paid fairly, and etc.
Yeah. That you can feel proud of wearing because you're doing the right thing. It's ethical as well. But I think you know, you're right that there's. I think there's also, you know, there's a big misconception that tailored clothing or, you know, nicely made clothing is necessarily uncomfortable, you know, and the type of stuff that you traffic in with your sartoria, which is, you know, very either Neapolitan influenced or actually authentically Neapolitan, is kind of, you know, super comfortable, highly unstructured, you know, is really loose and comfy to wear, but at the same time looks super smart. I don't know where guys get the idea from. Maybe it's throwing on kind of cheap suits or feeling uncomfortable in that suit when they don't wear it terribly often, or having something that's ill-fitting. I don't know where they get the idea that it's uncomfortable. It's not true.
Yeah, you're right. It's kind of it's definitely a misconception, but it can be true. You know, if you don't know how things fit or how things should fit, and you're not wearing the right stuff, then yeah, you definitely can be uncomfortable when you're wearing. But then you can be uncomfortable wearing casual wear as well, and if it's too tight.
If that tag saying "Made in Bangladesh" is sticking into your bum or whatever, then
yeah,
that's not good. Not good. So, do you think that you know, just luckily or fortunately or serendipitously, whatever you want to say, that what you're doing with Informale is kind of nicely dovetailing with the general direction that the winds of style and that the necessity of our current lifestyle, which is much more domestically focused, is heading.
Yeah, you're right. I think when we were first looking at growing Informale into kind of what it is now, we definitely knew that the trends were heading in this direction, you know. And we're very fortunate that we spent a couple of years building Informale and having a kind of an online presence, you know, before all of this hit us, you know. So it was very fortuitous. We count ourselves very lucky and very grateful that we have, you know, an amazing client base who support us, you know, through thick and thin. We have the capability set up of, you know, being able to ship things around the world and within Melbourne and Australia as well, without having to ask our clients to come in and see us face to face, where that might be dangerous, you know, to come through the city and come into the shop. So, yeah, I don't know, like the timing was, I often think this, imagine if we didn't have Informale and I was still just making made-to-measure suits, you know, I'd be screwed right now. A lot of my friends are really hurting who have, you know, made-to-measure and tailoring businesses. And I think that will bounce back, but for now it's tough. It's tough.
How has this situation affected your supply chain or your you know, your ability to source stock? Because I think this has been the one of the big issues for people in fashion, in whatever area, in apparel, is that there was a disruption to both demand and supply, which is kind of the perfect storm where you're just getting crushed between both ends. People aren't buying it, and you can't get the material to make it, and you can't get you can't place the orders with factories because they might be in Italy or, you know, wherever else when that was shut down, or you can't get it shipped to you. How has it been going on that front for you?
Again, we're really lucky to have most of our operation local, you know. Like you, I've heard from a lot of my friends in the industry that it's just so hard or it has been so hard to make things, to ship fabric, to, you know, bring in stock when you've already got all the stock sitting there that hasn't sold. Our setup as a kind of like a non-seasonal based brand, like we have a core collection of continuous styles and designs that we continuously restock throughout the year as we need to, and having most of our manufacturing and we source a lot of our trimmings, etc., locally as well. That's been amazing for us, you know. So there's been no disruption on that end. We did have a little bit of trouble. We ship a lot of our fabric from England to Australia. So we did have a bit of trouble as they were quite limited for a while when England was locked down. And it's the same with our Italian friends. We've been waiting for a restock of polos for, a number of months. And because they've been locked down, a lot of their seamstresses have been working from home, it's been a little bit of a drama, in small areas of the supply chain. But, and the other thing was, we work with a zip manufacturer called Riri, who are based in Switzerland and Italy. And we were waiting for an order of zips for about 4 months. And they didn't give us, in true, Swiss Italian, nature. They didn't tell us anything. They didn't give us any information.
Sure.
They were gone one day and they were back one day.
Okay.
Hey, it's being shipped. Here's the tracking number. So,
and it's amazing. It's just one little element like that, and nothing else can happen. I'm going to say hello to my daughter Arabelle, who just said hello, and I wanted to mention my friend. Hello, darling. My friend James Massey just said that I've been working out. James, I've never been in worse physical condition in my life than right now. I got to say, it's the magic of this Tom Sweeney, just magical nice. Tailoring. Speaking of working out, I see on your social media, Steve, that you're obviously quite into maintaining physical fitness, but a lot of what you make, drawstring, relatively forgiving trousers and clothing that is just a little bit more easy to wear, seems to be more kind of designed for a gentleman such as myself who has let himself go over 90 days of sitting around eating Tim Tams and drinking vodka martinis during lockdown. Wow. So how do you get into the mindset of the average Australian or international fella and create these garments that are a little bit more forgiving when you're such a sort of gym bunny yourself?
Well, I haven't been. So just for the record, I've been working out for about a year now, and before that, I have not been to the gym once in my entire life. Right?
Okay.
So,
wow.
So for a long time, I was just the average dude who, was not strong, was not really fit, was just average proportions. But I will say that as someone who is now working out and now I'm gaining a bit of size on my shoulders and whatnot, I actually don't mind the relaxed fit still. I think a lot of guys who go to the gym, they're focused on emphasizing, their small waist and their big shoulders and, whatever else they want to emphasize. I don't think you really need to wear slim, skinny clothing for that, You can still tell if a dude works out or has a good physique, even if he's wearing kind of more relaxed clothes. I've got quite a few clients actually who, who really appreciate the the way they look, even if they're not showing off, you know?
Yeah.
And you can do that with tailoring, you can do that with casual wear. So, you know, for the average guy out there, like, you know, if it looks good on you and if it feels good, they're the only two things that matter, right? Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't really, for me, I just make cool things and they seem to work for almost everyone.
No, I'm really glad that things are swinging back a little bit in that direction. You know, I was speaking with Timothy Everest about a week ago, who was talking about how he's been kind of revisiting American Gigolo and looking at all of that sort of early Giorgio Armani, which was really unstructured but you know, was quite sort of had a lot of volume to it, you could say. But I think it's great that things are swinging back in that way, and you know, it's nice to be able to put your hands in your pockets again. Yeah. That's a lovely feeling. And also, you know, you look on Instagram at all of these guys who bizarrely have, like, you know, 1 million followers for sort of strolling down the street in their spray-on kind of skin-tight lycra suits. I just don't get that. I don't know. It's not a good look. Not a good look.
There's so many of those guys out there. Yeah. It's so funny. Yeah.
There's no accounting for taste, you know. McDonald's sell a lot of burgers and they're terrible. So what can you do?
100%. Yeah, look, I think it comes back to, you know, fashion trends, and also comes back to the freedom at the moment of being able to dress a certain way and express yourself in a certain way, and, you know, not too much judgment hopefully being thrown around. I think in our little niche of kind of classic menswear, there is a lot of emphasis now on loose cuts and high waists, and I really love that, and it's refreshing to me, and I think it is to you as well. Yeah. And it's kind of the return of elegance and proportion in a way, you know, and I'm embracing that, you know, fully. You know, I'm wearing slightly larger. I'm in between sizes now, so I'm wearing slightly the larger size trousers, and the looseness and relaxed fit is really amazing. So yeah, I think more guys should embrace the relaxed fit. Everyone watching, hey guys, yeah, definitely try it.
Why are all these guys talking about McDonald's? It's not about the relaxed fit. I digress a little bit, but they're like, how good is McDonald's? I mean, come on, if you're going to go for that, it's got to be Hungry Jack's. The burgers are better there. That's their slogan. Burgers are better at Hungry Jack's. If you're going to go for one of the two, I don't know. I'm quite a big Carl's Jr. fan, maybe.
Carl's Jr.
Yeah, there's better burgers to be found out there than the Mickey D's, most certainly. Yeah. Come on, guys, step up your game. Not just your sartorial game, but your fast food game.
Well, one of these guys, Karo Su, is actually a Melburnian, and you should know better, mate. You should know better. We have better burgers in Melbourne than McDonald's. Most
certainly. There's a few things I miss more about Australia than a good milk bar burger. You know.
Yeah, you're from Australia, right?
Yeah, I'm from Sydney. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, a milk bar burger with the crinkle cut chips, maybe a potato scallop. I don't know. You guys call them something different down there, but look, there we are. What are plans for the next stage for the business? I think we've probably seen. It's been interesting, you know, this whole situation. Everyone's kind of talking about Brooks Brothers, for instance, going out of business, and a lot of other companies that I guess have got big money behind them, or have got, you know, private equity or whatever behind them, or have younger companies. You know, Brooks Brothers is 200 years old, but you've got a lot of younger companies that have really, you know, pulled in a bunch of funding and have been very aggressive in their expansion. You know, rapidly rolling out a lot of retail presence, or just investing in a lot of stock, and then something like what's gone down the last few months goes down, and they find themselves in big trouble for having grown too big, too fast. You know, what's your goal for where you want to take the company over the next 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah.
Or do you want to keep it intimate?
I think it's easy to get caught up in the rat race. You know, there's a lot of players in the industry at different levels, and it's so easy to look at someone who's far ahead of you and go, okay, I want that, you know. And it can be quite easy to, maybe not at the moment, but in the recent past, it has been quite easy to approach, you know, a VC firm or a guy with money and say, all right, let's do something big, make a splash. And yeah, I think it's one of those things where, for me, I understand that if we want to get to a certain point where we can really make a difference, we will have to expand a little. But I don't necessarily want to be a really big label, you know. I definitely want to maintain control of the company. I don't want to bring in investors and things. So that means a slower, more organic kind of growth, you know. And you know, for me, my immediate goals are, I've got a bunch of designs I want to release. I have a few kind of cool things I want to achieve. You know, we had this trunk show world tour planned around this time of this year, which has been kind of thrown in the bin for now.
Yeah.
So I want to do that as well. I want to go and meet our clients around the world. So, you know, for me, it's more about I want to enjoy where we're at, and I want to enjoy the kind of slow organic growth that comes with having like an independent label.
Yeah.
And I just want to do some cool stuff, you know.
Right.
So that's kind of, I don't want to be that guy who says, yeah, I've got all these big plans and we're going to do this amazing stuff. I'm, you know, maybe perhaps more realistic, or perhaps just a little bit more humble about it, you know. So yeah, we've got some cool things planned. We're going to do some cool stuff, especially the next couple of years, but don't expect us to, you know, rapidly expand or become, you know, a Brooks Brothers. Well,
that takes 200 years, but
yeah.
I think it's you know, I'm a little bit baffled that, you know, that there have been very few Australian brands in the past that have kind of successfully exported what they do to the rest of the world. Lots of Australian brands that have done really well in Australia and built a you know, a really strong following and a big presence domestically, but, you know, not many that, you know, there's not a lot of that have managed to successfully export to the world, like, you know, like Zimmerman or whatever. Just not many, but it seems like the kind of the time is now. You know, Patrick Johnson's doing great stuff, and it's very sort of a uniquely Australian, I think, approach to tailoring and to menswear, and just kind of, you know, the approach of what you're doing, which is combining that quality of craftsmanship and the ethical, high quality materials with a slightly more, you know, laid back, comfortable, relaxed approach, really seems to be, you know, where the world is headed right now. So it seems to be, you know, the time is ripe for you, Steve.
Very kind words, thank you. Yeah, look, I think Australia is not really well known for fashion in general, and I think as a young country, it's hard to have an identity which is purely Australian. So I think a lot of brands, and it's so far away from everywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
So, you know, for the past you know, a few decades, there have been some success stories in Australian menswear within Australia. But looking outside Australia, a brand who's been able to kind of break out and find success globally, you know, that's really rare. And you know, the way I look at it is, for Informale, we are just going essentially where the wind blows. You know, I happen to know some people in the industry, yourself, you know, Simon Crompton from Permanent Style, a number of other people who I've just been able to meet and get to know, mostly through the tailoring business before Informale, and who have kind of seen what we've been doing and have given us a voice. You know, we went to London for Permanent Style's Savile Row pop-up last year, which was an insane experience. I'll be forever grateful to Simon for that, and essentially allowed us to reach that global audience, you know, especially as a small, you know, independent label with, you know, we don't have marketing budgets and you know, big capital to sink into coming into a new market. So, yeah, we're kind of very fortunate to, you know, thanks to Instagram as well. I think the time, as you said, the time is ripe. You know, the time is now for a brand like us to come out. But I also want to say that there's a lot of room in the menswear world for brands like us who are doing similar things, especially coming from Australia. So I also want to almost show Australian labels and guys in Australia that it's possible. You know, it's possible to start from scratch, from nothing, and not have an investor, and it's possible to make locally and with a conscience in a way, and it's possible to do it, to make it happen. So yeah, I try to approach it in a sense that I want to do some good. I don't want to just hog it all to myself. So anyway, I'm rambling again.
No, not at all. And that's a great approach. I think you know, you can either approach things as there's a small pie and everyone needs to scramble to get their bit of it, or you can approach things from trying to make the pie larger so that there's enough pie for everyone to eat their fill. I think the latter is definitely the better approach. But yeah, no, that's great to provide an example. And look, I think it's an excellent time, and Australia has had that tyranny of distance throughout its whole history, and is, you know, the seasons are asked backwards. So everyone's sort of talking now about the fact that, you know, we don't need to think about seasons. We can be season agnostic or something, and try to. So, you know, yeah, maybe the time is indeed right. Now, look, does anyone have any? If anyone's got any questions for Steve, please do post those up, and we'll kind of attend to those. AMA, ask him anything, and you can ask me something if you want as well. I don't mind. I'm here. I'm feeling loose. It's Friday afternoon. First gin and tonic of the day.
Nice.
But the last thing I wanted to ask you is, you know, I think it's been one of the silver linings of this period is that we're kind of reaching out more. That's not a question. That's a statement that Steve is handsome. That's irrefutable fact. I think one of the great things is that we're reaching out. We're having these conversations. You know, we're talking more with people. I'm doing more telephone calls than I have in years. More sort of Skype calls, Zoom calls, whatever. But we're not getting those. I don't know. Are those interactions as compelling as something like, say, I'm sure when you go to PT Uomo, you meet a bunch of random people, and then that turns into, you know, long-term friendships, and things come out of that, whether that's like a personal or professional stuff. So how have you been finding being cooped up from the sense of like reaching out and trying to build those relationships and spread the Informale / Calder gospel to the world?
The gospel.
Yes.
I think I'm a guy who likes to be in face to face with people.
Yeah.
You know, I like to sit down with someone and, you know, feel. Sorry, can you see me?
Yep. Nice.
I like to converse with people in person, essentially. So for me, it's been quite hard to, you know, to stay connected with my friends overseas without actually seeing them, you know, once or twice a year. But I also recognize that this is kind of what we're doing is kind of the way of the future. So we have to, as much as we might prefer, you know, physical interactions, we kind of just have to deal with it, right? So yeah, definitely, it's definitely more effective to meet, and as you said, like creating relationships, forming friendships. These things happen naturally, you know, in person, and it's a lot harder to do that through a screen, through the phone. So I'm not sure. It doesn't
happen by chance, like if you're out late at night at Cafe Geely having random drinks with random people. Speaking of, hello Stefano. I think I messaged Blue Stefano. I think I'd met at one of those little places in Firenze. How can you start from scratch without an investor? What's your answer to that, Steve?
Do we have another 45 minutes? I get asked this question fairly often, and I welcome, like, if you want to have a discussion about it, you know, in depth. If you want to share any ideas you have, feel free to send me a message later on. But essentially, you have to connect with your tribe, your audience, and this is to do it without an investor, without any money. You essentially have to grind. You have to work really hard. It takes many hours of connecting with people in the industry through all the social media channels, putting out your concept and your ideas through Instagram, trying to find like forums where people, like-minded people, might be able to you know, see and appreciate what you're doing, and then growing it organically from nothing. So, you know, from our you know, our story, I've been building my own Instagram account since 2014, posting like every day, you know, and that takes a hell of a lot of an effort, you know, and so yeah, it just takes a grind. You have to believe in yourself. You have to be willing to work, and you have to know how to connect with the people that you're trying to reach.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the short version of it. But yeah, I'm happy to answer that in more detail if you have any more like specific questions.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. I think, yeah, that fella should drop you a line and take you out for a Big Mac combo meal, and discuss it over Big Mac and fries. But look, I've got a dash. I've got a 6 p.m. dinner reservation. I hate to make you jealous, but I do. Have to dash out. Put on some long pants. I'm wearing the shorts at the moment, doing it newsreader style. So got to get myself properly attired. But Steve, it's been a great pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. all the best for the next few weeks while you're stuck inside. Stay healthy, but you know, we're going to get out of this and emerge stronger, I hope. So yeah, look forward to catching up in real life in the near future.
Maybe at Pitti, or maybe in Singapore or in Australia.
I can't wait to get back to Australia, but they're not sort of welcoming us foreign nationals at the moment. So yeah, sometime soon. All right, my friend.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, Christian, and I look forward to the next one. Pleasure
was all mine. Yeah, thank you to everyone who joined us today and made comments and asked questions and all that sort of stuff. Thank you so much. Join me again next week, Monday, around about the same time on more Banter with Barker. Until then, have a great weekend, everyone. Live long and prosper.
Bye.
Ciao.